running late but feeling great with this, the Transformers Selects Lancer, and this time around we're actually going to kind of give you a 2-for-1 review here because we're going to look at Lancer, but we're also going to evaluate Orthia in her completed combined mode. Both of those things in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. I'm so thankful that you decided to drop by. Please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, more important than ever now. And while you're at it, that's right, hit that notification bell, please, because it lets you know, at least for now, when content of all sorts goes up on the channel. Let's hope that that practice continues in perpetuity going to the future. We shall see. Check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors, NL, and the Autobot family, and have a look for me everywhere across social media. All those links are down in the description. And this is Lancer, who, like, it's funny. I had Greenlight, Greenlight come in, I think in May, something like that. And at the time, there was a copy of Moonracer locally at retail, and I almost picked her up, and I was going to do a complete custom paint job with the oranges and the purples to get us a Lancer, or get me a Lancer. And then she got announced, and right away, like, the pre-orders went up. It was like, wow! So I put in a pre-order, as did everyone. And then by like the end of July, August, I saw everybody, you know, my pre-order arrived, it came. No, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting. And she only showed up this week, but you know what? Like, I'm fine with that. Here's the thing: we're not going to look at any of the transformations here. We'll see all 4 modes, but we're going to do a little bit of like kind of video magic to do that. We're not going to go through the transformations because I've shown it before. Some people like this mold, some people don't like this mold. We're going to see kind of how it all comes together. Admittedly, at this point, I can't say that a mix of orange and purple is probably a color scheme that nobody should wear. It's not, they are not complementary in the least. But is she a good use of the mold? Not a good use of the mold? Well, we're going to find out when we run through things pretty quickly when we head over to the table and take a closer look at her. And better late than never, man. And that's kind of the story with Lancer. I mean, for 25 years, she was simply known as like the unnamed orange female Autobot until, I believe, the story Flames of Yesterday, and during Timelines, and that's where she was given a name along with a bunch of other members of the female Autobot resistance. But I'm glad that she has it, and even more so, I believe that her name is noted as coming from the Greek myth of like Jason and the Argonauts. I think she's based on the heroine of that story, Atalanta or Atalantia or something like that. It's a long history to the name, to be honest with you, but nevertheless, we know her as Lancer, and this is the only iteration we've had of this character in the 35 years of franchise history. And while a lot of people don't like this mold, I dig it, and I absolutely love that we live in a world where we have a representation of Lancer, even though the purple and orange are kind of a gaudy mix overall. In terms of, like, you know, how prominent the character is, not very. I mean, she appeared in that Search for Alpha Trion episode with the rest of the female Autobot resistance, and besides that, she was in like Flames of Yesterday, and there may have been one other story. She's not the most well known. She is, however, high energy and impetuous and young. You know, she's what? Like, she's one of these that's like all in. She's a character that's all in and wants to prove something. And I think she wanted to be like a part of the elite guard and stuff. In terms of the periphery stuff here, before we get to the character, well, we're going to go through that super duper quick and get into grading her very, very fastly. Here's a selects box. They are trash. I don't like them. And siege instructions, which I absolutely dig, although I wonder if these are the instructions for Lancer exactly, because on the front of them and at every panel therein, that's Greenlight. That's not Lancer. Nevertheless, my favorite part is the accessory stats page, and of course her prime armor can go attached to the front and becomes a shield that's extremely strong. And the gravitas blaster it's quite strong. It's not the most accurate thing in the world. It has a decent range, but again, it's Greenlight holding it. That's Greenlight. But you know, you can have these stats all you want. At the end of the day, what we really I stumbled over that. At the end of the day, what we really have is a pretty ugly orange and purple hand, but you know, it is what it is. You can see the translucent purple piece in the back that can come out and be held as a blaster, though it has no stats because her actual blaster is an excellent repaint with a nice blue highlight on it of the blaster that came with Nova Storm. I call her Firestorm or Firestar. You know who I'm talking about. And when I talk about that blaster reuse, remold, of course I'm using it in reference to her. Here's the one. I think it's Firestar, but I think they renamed her Nova Star, if I'm not mistaken. Pardon me. This is the entire Autobot, female Autobot resistance that we saw in the episode The Search for Alpha Trion. When I think of my collection, when I think of representations of characters, there's a lot that have only been fringe characters. Like, I'd love to have a proper DevCon, for example. I never imagined when I started collecting many years ago that we would end up with versions of this entire team. Now, a lot of people like to put RC and Windblade with this group, and I get it, but honestly, when you go back and you talk about the first time that female characters were introduced in the franchise that we all know and love, it started with this group right here. Admittedly, a lot of people are not fans of the Elita 1 Voyager plain mold, and a lot of people don't like the mold that was used for this team. In fact, a lot of people like the Chromia down at the end from the Siege line the best. I like her the least, but I am glad to have a representation of her so that we can have this entire team. I think they look really, really good together. I absolutely dig it. Now we can get into doing the grading. This is actually a reuse of the version of the mold that was used for Greenlight. Why do I know that? Because there's a couple of things worth noting here. Very first thing worth noting is that there's slight remolding on the forearms. The wrists no longer move in or out. They don't move at all. And there was a port originally on the outside of the arm. That's no longer there. On the sides here and over here, we do have two little tabs. There are little tabs, of course, on the thumbs, and we can, by rights, come here and should be able to. And if you were thinking that representing this character with the armor on the front is good, then you'd be wrong, because it looks preposterous. However, she does hold her blaster in her hand just fine, makes for some great dynamic display options. That being said, we're going to take the kind of armor piece off of her chest, so to speak, and talk about her coloring, as gaudy as it might be. So if you didn't already know what she is supposed to look like, basically she's a mix of like a lavender type of purple and a darker purple and orange. Now, the orange should be on the lower legs, check. The orange should be kind of in the pelvis section, right in here, check. The orange should be on her arms, both upper and lower, check. The orange should be on her upper chest and her head. Check and check. Then we get to the dark purple, and the dark purple really should be on her torso. Check. And kind of on her upper thighs. Check. Then we get to the lavender, and that's where things slightly fall apart a little here. The lavender should be on the hands, indeed. It should be all over the face. It's not really, it's just sort of on her lips, and it looks weird. And it should be on her elbows. It's not, but I understand why that wouldn't be. It'd be hard to kind of paint the ball joint of the elbow and have the paint stay on there and not rub off over time when you cast the rest of the arm in orange. That being said, the argument could be made maybe the arm should have been cast in lavender and then the orange paint applied. I could see that. And then kind of down here on her like lower thigh and knee, that should be lavender, and it's kind of not, even though the purple that's used on her lower leg isn't as dark as what's on her torso. I think they were trying to sort of mask that a bit. It's pretty accurate. Like, if you know Lancer, you're not going to at all mistake this character. I'm going to say it's a 9 for G1 animation accuracy. If we're talking about this character as she appears really in the more recent comics continuity, this still isn't quite right because we should have silver or white on the thighs, and the dark purple should be the pelvis and the torso. So I think that it's going more for a G1 look here, and I'm cool with that. Now, I don't really recall her having a vehicle mode in the episode that she appeared in, but I believe her vehicle mode is supposed to be a car. And we'll see kind of how well this matches that as we kind of get there. I'm not going to show the transformation because we've already seen it a bunch of times. So we're going to just go from her in this mode to her in her weird Cybertronian car mode. And I actually love the look of this. Now, I do have the handpiece put back here and her little blaster put up there. You don't need to have that there. Inside of the translucent purple, this time there's a lot of silver paint detailing that I think really kind of helps capture like a nice look. I love the paint along the sides. The rims have nice paint on them. I love this. You know what? I said a 9. I believe this is really kind of the way the car is or was intended to look for the animation. I'm going to say it's more like a 9.5. I think that this is really good. I think the mold matches her very well. Then we get to how she would look if she was a leg for Orthia. Okay, again, like it's fine. It's fine. It makes a fine looking leg. It's easy to get here. No problemo at all. If you have the kind of foot piece from Alita, it actually holds pretty well in this version. It does not hold that well in all versions of this mold. And finally, we have her in that typical arm mode for Orthia, where we have a double elbow. We'll see that in a little bit. But before we kind of get to the combined mode, the one thing we haven't done yet is look at her articulation in robot mode. Despite having a hella backpack, I have to say that I think that the transformation is fantastic. Honestly, 9.5 for her look, a 10 for the transformation. Even with the backpack, you can have these pieces flayed out, you can flay them back, you can bend this up, you can have it down like a skirt piece, you can do what you like with it. 10. In terms of articulation, her head, it goes left, right, up, down. It's unfortunate that some people don't like this mold. The arms, they can go all the way around, out to the side, swivel. We have an elbow to 90 degrees, no wrist swivel here. We have a waist, and if you pick up the skirt piece, I guess, we also have like a lower pelvis swivel, so like there's a double waist swivel, I guess you could say. Thigh swivel, the thigh swivel is a little looser this time around. Like I don't think anything else should use this mold. I think we've reached the end of it because we're starting to ever so slightly get mold degradation. We still have a double knee bend. We still have ever so slight of an ankle tilt, ankle wiggle really. Toes forward, toes up because of transformation. Honestly, there's not much, if anything else I could want. Maybe wrist rotation. I'm going to say that the articulation is a solid 9.5 for sure. Honestly, I think all versions of this mold range somewhere between a 9.5 and a 9.75. She's no different, but she definitely has the loosest thigh swivel for whatever that's worth. In terms of her hips, they can go forward, they can go back, and she can do splits with the best of them. I dig her. Now, what about Orthia? What about that combined mode? You know, I've been kind of waiting ever since Moonracer and Alita came out. I said, you know what, if ever there was a time that I'd be in for like a new combiner, think that the female Autobot resistance going together is a great idea. I'm in. And that whole ride started in what, 2017 maybe? We've been about 2 years trying to get this done. At least I have, because this was late arriving. But in the end, we have this. And ba-boom, in the end, here we have Orthia in her combined mode, and it's better than I thought it was going to be. Now, a lot of people like to take Chromia and reconfigure her and attach the two little blasters that come with Elita 1 somewhere up here on the chest and turn her into a chest piece. I'm not going to do that. I'm kind of cool with Chromia just sort of like having their back, man. Then we get to the combined mode itself. It looks good as far as I'm concerned. I like the symmetry of all four limbs being the same mold. That's a complaint that a lot of people have had and said that they don't like. I like that symmetry. So I'm in the minority. I get that. In terms of functionality, well, the transformation to get here is super simple. That's a 10. The articulation is pretty, it's all right, but I also understand certain criticisms that people have. It's all there, but the functionality is a little iffy. So in terms of looks, 10, because I love it. You might not, I do. In terms of transformation to get here, 10, super duper simple. Even though the torso has a lot going on. In terms of articulation, well, the head, it can go up, down, left, right. The arms can go all the way around, can go out to the side. Because of the waist, we have a bicep swivel. We have technically a double elbow. We don't have a waist. We do have hips that go out to the side, and like they hold all right. It could be a little bit stronger. We have hips that can, I'm just going to take that foot off because I know it's going to fall off. Hips that can go back, and it holds okay. I feel like it could fall at any point though. Same forward, it's pretty good. We have a swivel because of the bicep swivel of Elita 1, and we have really a nice 90-degree knee. We can even sort of fake it to get higher than 90 degrees. But that is faking it. Now, I said I'm taking the foot out. Here is the problem. The foot pieces, and you could open up that chest piece and put an Enigma combination in there if you want. The feet that came with Elita, the foot pieces that came with Elita they're not good. They're not good. They don't really stay in here very well at all. So I've actually changed these out. I don't even use them. I just use a couple of the traditional Combiner Wars hand foot pieces that fit better. Actually, I should probably find these pieces that came with Grimlock and try those out. In the end, man, she works for me. I can score a nice dynamic pose like this. I dig it. Now, I suppose if I wanted to leave the other foot pieces in, I would have the benefit of an ankle tilt, which is why I might find the ones from Grimlock. But even without it, and I know that this foot looks a little wonky, I still like what I can score here. She looks great on a display shelf. I dig it. Articulation is there, but like certain joints could be a little stronger than what they are. So I'm going to say that the articulation is about a 7.5, maybe an 8 if I'm in a good mood. Not because it's not there, it's all there, but because certain joints should be a little bit better. So, Lancer overall, to me, is easily a 9.5. Orthia, as a Combiner Wars styled combiner overall, to me, with her 10 for her look, with her 7.5 for her articulation, and her 10 for transformation into this mode, I'm going to say, honestly, Orthia overall is a solid 8.5. And now here we are once again with Orthia in her completed and combined mode. Look, here's the thing. A lot of people are going to disagree with my assessment. I think this mold is fantastic. I like it infinitely better than the Chromia reuse. I think the Chromia reuse as Chromia and as Nightbird is not great. For so many reasons. I love the earlier use. Now some people have said, I don't like it because you got those little like spoke pieces, and they say like when she's in vehicle mode or they're in vehicle mode that like it doesn't roll well. Most of mine roll all right, but if you got a problem with that, sand them down a little bit. Cut them off a little bit, man. Like if they're bugging you, get rid of them. Get them out of here. Some people have said, I don't like buying the same mold 4 times. Really? Really? Look at yourself in the mirror, man. Did you not buy? Did you not just buy Siege Prowl, Smokescreen, Blue Streak, and yes, you probably bought Barricade 4 of the same mold. I think that it is amazing, fantastic that we live in a world where we have official representations of all 6 original members of the Autobot female resistance on Cybertron. When I started collecting many years ago, I never ever anticipated that we would live in a day and age where we have all of these characters, especially because they really only appeared in 1 episode. Even in terms of their use in later fiction, like a couple of them have been fairly prominent, and a couple of them have only appeared once or twice over the course of 35 years. So for them to get, full-fledged new molds wouldn't have made sense. They're not recognized enough. But the fact that all of these exist makes me very happy. The notion that, hey, why don't we make him a combiner? Like, I'm not one for made-up combiners. Like, I didn't like Volcanicus, because Dinobots are Dinobots, they don't need to combine. And in this case, the argument could be made that they don't need to combine, but for some weird reason, probably the symmetry of the fact that we do have 4 molds that look alike, it works for me. I love the look of this. I love the way that it came together. Now, admittedly, the torso, being like a reuse of that Starscream mold, I wish Elita 1 was a different mold to a land-based vehicle. And I know that some of these land-based vehicles are stylized alt modes, but in some of these cases, this is literally the only representation that this character has ever had. Like, I don't think Lancer has ever been represented anywhere else. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Same with, I think, Moonracer. Same with Greenlight. We may have had a Nova Star before. I know we've had a couple of Elita 1s to iffy success, all of them, and we've even had some third-party Elita 1s. It works for me. Here's the thing. If you like one of these molds, then you probably like all 4 of them. If you didn't like one of these molds, then there's nothing here with Lancer that's going to change your mind. Nothing. Pass her over because she's not for you. If you were in for 1 or 2 of this squadron, then you might as well be in for all of them, man. At the end of the day, I think I'm actually going to leave all of them combined because I like the way this turned out. Plus, in Season 3 of Universal Collision, she may be able to play a nice combined mode role. A little foreshadowing there, hopefully, assuming that life continues here on the YouTube platform for everybody. It's changing every day. We all know that, man. So many ups and downs, new information. It's hard to sit through it all. I'll be glad when it's over. Just saying. For right or wrong, hook or crook, I'll be glad when it's over. And I've been really critical. But if anybody's been paying attention, for the record, if anybody's been paying attention, I've been critical, but I've also been saying that I don't think that this is going to be some huge apocalypse that everyone's been saying that it's going to be. I think some people have been making too big of a deal about it, and some people have been making not quite enough of a big deal about it. Anyway, let's forget about that and stick to the good vibrations and the good times and the good feelings that we could have for Orthia and Lancer. Maybe you don't like Orthia, maybe you don't like Lancer. Either way, good, bad, or ugly, let me know what you think about Lancer and Orthia. I love to hear from you guys. I appreciate you coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. Please hit that subscribe button. It helps me out so very, very much. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, there is a donate link down in the description. Don't forget, somehow, some way, each and every day you do make a difference. And of course, I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams at the stop motion premieres or the old fashioned way, the usual way, right here inside the videos.